Welcome back, beautiful souls. So I am sure that people might look at me and listen to me and be like, why should I listen to her? And hey, that's a legitimate question, and I would say first, listen to yourself. Always listen to yourself. Always bring it back to, does it resonate with you? What does your intuition say? And listen to that. If you're not feeling my vibe, then you can just move on. If your intuition says, no, I feel like she's authentic, like she's open, like she's speaking truth, then yeah, like totally, we can vibe out together. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, I did wanted to mention this because I think it's important. Because there's so many, there's so much like pop spirituality out there, and there's so many phonies and fake people. Yeah, there are, and that sounds like a judgment, and I don't know, maybe it is, or maybe it's just, me calling it out. But just from my own experience, and even people that write books, just because you write a book doesn't make you an expert in anything. So, and just because you can just spout off some information or recite back some sutras or some philosophy doesn't make you an expert in anything. And you could say, well, so far you wrote books too. Yeah, I wrote books about me and my own personal experience, and I can only teach what I've personally experienced, went through, and have grown from. You understand? I'm not going to share with you something like, oh, well, I learned this technique and this is what it is. But it's going to be like, oh, I learned this technique, I practiced it, I applied it to my life, and this is how it changed me. That's what I'm going to share with you. So I know there's like many teachers and gurus out there that have millions of followers, and I'm sure some of the information they share is helpful. But I would just like to point out that maybe what makes me different from other spiritual teachers or gurus is that I've actually gone through it. I've been to the dark. I came into this world in a most unusual way. And I wrote into my book of life abandonment, despair, heartache, pain, and grief and suffering into every chapter of my life, so I can actually go through it, heal it, transmute the energies, rise up out of the dark into the light, bring a little pearl of wisdom, write about it, and then offer it to the world. So that's authentic. That's me saying like, hey, I can relate to you, and then maybe you can relate to me. I'm not saying like, I was born as this holy saint and I sit upon this pedestal and you should listen to me because I am ordained this holy saint and I am above you all. I am started at rock bottom, and I was at rock bottom like my whole life, but I was able to change, right? And that's a big thing, because I remember one of my first yoga clients about 20 years ago, and dear friend of mine, and I remember he said to me once, he says, people don't change. And I thought, I'm going to prove him wrong. And I changed. I completely transformed my life. But there was some truth to what he's saying, because there's some parts of me that haven't changed, like the silly, corny, immature, goofy part of me is still there, that'll always be there. Or, that part that's like maybe still gets quick to anger, or is impatient, or gets frustrated, or, that part of me is still there too, I have to like tame the storm and calm the storm a lot of times, So in a way, he was right. There are some aspects of our personality that don't really change. And why do we want that to change? That makes us who we are, makes us interesting and colorful and different, So I've come to embrace all aspects of me, whether they are like my, what you call my strong points or my weak points or my shadow side, but it all makes me who I am. And I'm definitely not perfect, and I will always be relatable because I'm going to stay humble and let you know, like, I'm here to be authentic and to share from my heart. And I'm only going to share and teach what I know. And what I know is what I've actually experienced, because experience is the ultimate teacher. Words don't teach, books don't teach. I had a friend who, she helped me a lot because she would always give me every book she read, and I would read these books up like, oh my God, these are amazing. We read the same books, but it seemed like she was always staying the same, and I was like, I don't understand, you read that book, like, but then I got, like, just because people read a book, it doesn't mean they actually absorb it or apply it to their life. And you could read a gazillion books and still stay the same. So I'm kind of like a self-learner and a self-motivator, and I know what my purpose is. And so when I would read a self-help book, what I would do was, and I just taught this myself, if I liked the book, I would read it one time through just to get a general feel of it. And then I'd go back and read it a second time, this time with a highlighter or a pen or pencil, and make notes and highlight the things that really stood out for me that I felt like I needed to remember, like put into my head, to my heart. And then the third time I'd go back and take notes. So I'd sit at my computer, and then all the highlighted parts, I would write like cliff notes. And there's something for me, learning how I would ultimately learn and apply something was when I wrote it. Like, there's something to either like a pen to paper or typing it out. Somehow it kind of like sunk into my intellect. And still, that's not complete learning either. If something just stays into your intellect, that's not applying it to your life. It has to come down into your heart, and you have to become it. So there's all different steps to learning, but this is how I would do it. So at least I would have the remembrance of what that book was about. And then there would be a time in my life where I was struggling, and I'd remember, oh yeah, remember that in the 4 agreements. What was that agreement? Oh yeah, always be impeccable with your word. And then in the situation I was in, I was like, am I being impeccable with my word? And I was like, no. Okay, well then you need to change that. And then I would go ahead and do something different. So that's actually how you change and grow. It's not about knowing things, because yeah, you can know everything in the world, but if you don't ever apply it and actually change your action, you're never going to change your life. So that is kind of how I self-learned and took information that I thought was really helpful and enlightening and applied it to my life. I would try to remember the things, like I'll always remember the 4 agreements because they changed my life. And I don't know if anyone's ever read this book, but it's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and so helpful and practical. And the 4 agreements are: 1, be impeccable with your word, because your word is all you have. And your word, when you speak, when you cut the air with sound and becomes your word, that's your creation. 2 is don't take anything personally. And I mean like anything. Like, oh, this happens to me all the time. You could be like walking down the street and someone can yell at you, asshole. And you're like, I don't even know you, didn't do anything to you. But it's like, you can't take that personally, because when you understand, like, everything is just a reflection, and like, people are all going through their own stuff, and their unresolved wounds, they project it out into the world. So you can't take anything personally. That's a hard one, a really, really hard one for most people to really absorb. The 2nd agreement. The 3rd one is don't make assumptions. And gosh, it's helped me so much, because, you know, like, somebody doesn't call you back or text you back right away, and then you start in your head, you make up the story. Oh, well, so-and-so is or they're doing this or that. Or you make up this whole big drama story, and then they text you the next day, oh, sorry, like, you know, I dropped my phone, or it broke, or whatever, I was in this like meeting, emergency meeting for work, and I couldn't get back to you, you know. It's like, oh, okay. But like, in our head, we make up these stories. And so never make assumptions. And the 4th one is always do your best. And I love that one the most, because like, relief, especially for people like are type A like me, and it's like always like the overachiever and the perfectionist. It's like, that was like a relief to my soul. Like, all right, as long as I'm doing my best, that's all I can ask for, right? Like, that's all anyone can ask for. That's all we can do is give is our best. And so I remembered those, and in times in my life when I was feeling stuck, one of them would usually have applied to a situation, and then I would just remember it and then change my perception and my belief about what I was experiencing, and then take a different action. And that's how I would apply teachings that I read in books. And I think that's like an important thing to understand on this path and on this journey, if you are on a journey of transformation, is that it can't stay here in your head. And then you're just a big head with a lot of information. It has to trickle down. It has to integrate into your heart, into your essence, into your being, until you integrate it and become it. And that's how change happens. So thanks for listening, and I hope that what I'm sharing with you is helpful. Please comment below and let me know if there's anything that you need help with, or advice or guidance with, or that you're stuck with. And if I can help you, it would be my honor and my pleasure. So thanks, and I will see you soon. The soul fire in me, I give to you. Aho. To learn more about my offerings, visit my website at igniteyoursoulfire.com. Please subscribe to my channel and comment below, my soul family. Thank you for being here on our precious planet Gaia at this time. Your light matters. You matter. You make a difference in the world by just being you. Ahuiho, until our hearts meet again. You are loved.